Today, we go deeper into the deaths at Sanctuary as we cover more of Heroes in Crisis. Welcome to the Oblivion Bar, a safe haven for all DC comic fans. I'm your host, Khalil Hill, and today we're going back into Heroes in Crisis, issues 4 through 6. And if you missed our first episode on the first 3 issues of this series, you can go back and check it. There will be a link in the description below. So, the Trinity, back to them, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, they clearly do not have a grip on this situation. And it turns out they don't really have a grip on each other as well. So, Robbie, do you think it was right for Superman to withhold information from Batman and Wonder Woman?
So, I don't think it was necessarily the right move, but I definitely understand where he's coming from. Like, Clark Kent is also a journalist, understanding that journalistic integrity, and also the fact that Batman keeps secrets all the freaking time.
Do I think it was right? Probably not. But, you know, he's Superman. He's still a man at the end of the day. He makes mistakes. Like, it's like I was talking about previously. Okay. He's not a man in a literal sense, but he's lived enough time on Earth to where I think he's at least a man.
He's definitely adopted some humanity, which we'll find out more in this book.
That's fair.
What do you think, Joe?
Kind of torn. Kind of understand why he did what he did, but at the same time, I do kind of think he should have given his teammates a little heads up, like, instead of just being, this came out, by the way.
I don't know what y'all are talking about. I think Superman is an idiot for not, sharing the fact that, at least telling Batman and Wonder Woman, hey, so, hey, Bats, that those videos that you said weren't recorded, they were all deleted? Well, somebody got their hands on them, so you lied to us again, and we gotta figure this shit out because,
punch him right in the mouth.
He's just not gonna, I get it, he's a reporter, he identifies with Lois in that sense, I get that, but he has a responsibility really to the deaths of these heroes to try to do everything he can to solve this. That would have been more precious time to figure out who's behind this whole, murder mystery. With that, I want to know, Joe, what did you bring for us to drink today?
That was aggressive. So today I actually was able to snag a 4-pack, because they don't make 6-packs of this, of the highly acclaimed KBS by Founders. Founders is in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Mm-hmm. So it's not local to Kentucky, but it is named after Kentucky because they take their breakfast out and they age it in bourbon barrels. I get a lot of coffee notes and chocolate. I think chocolate hits you first, and then the finish is with coffee. It's really delicious.
Yeah. How do you guys think about it? How's it taste?
So, definitely a fan. I'm generally a big fan of stouts in general, and from previous videos, you'll probably know that I am a fan of bourbon barrel things. So I'm a fan of this. I think maybe a bit overpriced from what I understand what the general price is. Granted, I'm really cheap, but
Everybody has a price.
but it is a delicious beer for sure. Definitely agree. Chocolatey into coffee. I think a lot of chocolatey beers do it wrong, and I think this does it right. So.
Thoughts, Ethan?
This is a good beer. You guys should drink it.
Shameless plug! The plug! Okay, we're gonna move on. So, oh my gosh. Alright, in this book, we get 2 new team-ups, and I was actually really excited about this, but what do you guys think of the dynamics of these 2 team-ups? We have Harley Quinn and Batgirl teaming up, and then you have Booster Gold and Blue Beetle teaming up. Robbie, what do you think of the dynamic of these teams?
I really, really like both of them. Specifically, I love the Booster Gold Blue Beetle team up. So I really appreciate this because it's a hero bromance almost. And we go into the Blue Beetle confessional, and he's like, yeah, Booster is the guy that I know I can call him. He's always there, and he always picks up, and that's how they bond. And you see them, I think it's in the 5th volume, it's the intro thing is they're both on the couch, pizza, beer, TV on, like that is typical bromance stuff, and that's something that I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel that I'm glad that this exists between heroes, and I'm glad that we get to see this and almost shenanigans of some sort, because he's like, man, I have this really ridiculous idea, and Blue Beetle's like, yeah, you know what, let's do it. Yeah. So I'm a huge fan. I'll leave it open, the Harley Batgirl, for other people, because I feel like I've been talking about Booster and Blue Beetle a lot, but I also really enjoy them as a team up as well.
Yeah, what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, out of the two team ups, my favorite is Harley and Batgirl.
All right.
Just when they, and I guess this might be me being a little sappy, but just that emotional kind of breakdown you see of them just hugging it out in the middle of the comic. You're just like, okay, they get each other. They have this background together. They're going to understand that, they're from different sides, but at the same time, they're still going to come together and they're going to figure out what to do and they're going to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. What do you got, Ethan?
So obviously they've talked about the two team ups already. My personal favorite is Blue and Gold, because obviously I love that. But I like that the two team ups are foils of each other. So you got Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, who are well established as really good friends. They already have this relationship. And then you have Batgirl and Harley, who are typically enemies, and they're coming together for what is possibly the first time. I can't say that for sure, but probably one of the first times at least. And you see how their dynamic grows, where Booster and Blue Beetle, they have this dynamic and they lean on it, and you can tell that. I just like the foil of that.
Yeah, no, and I actually don't favor one team up over the other. I actually think they both bring a lot to the story. I do have a hard time following Boosters and Blues logic. It's like, it's so dumb, it's gonna work.
That's why it's so good, because they're such good friends. They're like, yeah, let's do it. Like, come on, we're gonna get right into it. Like, yeah, we're just gonna do this thing together, and it's we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's at the end of the day, they know they can depend on each other, and they think that no matter how dumb the idea is, if the other person is there, they're gonna pull it off.
Yeah,
and I mean, it works. They
pull it off. All right. Well, okay. We have Lois Lane. She's obviously getting all of these clips from this mysterious puddler. But my thoughts with that are like, was there a better way for her to have handled this information rather than, leaking it? Not leaking it, but rather than reporting it as she did. Was she in a hard spot that there was no other way? Was her logic sound? What do you think, Ethan?
This is a classic career versus man split where you have to decide between one and the other. And I think she handled it the best way that she could. Because if she has this information, I feel like at the end of the day she has to share it. And I think she was right in saying that if I don't put this out in the world, someone else is going to, and they're not going to give it as much justice as I'm going to.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Joe?
I'm really, really agreeing, because at the end of the day, if she doesn't share it, someone let's throw it out there, Lex Luthor would. He grabs a hold of it, he's going to bury them. He doesn't care what he has to do. He's going to throw all sorts of things in there. He's going to twist it. He's going to bury them as much as he possibly can. And so I think Lois is taking the information. It's going to hurt him a little bit in the beginning, but I think it's going to help him in the end, because they're going to be like, well, now I can identify with these superheroes.
Yeah. What do you think, Robbie?
Yeah, I'm going to clean sweep. Definitely agree. She made the right choice. She got the information. If she didn't say something about it, someone else was going to. The people who sent it to her, they obviously wanted the information to get out. So it's best that she was able to receive it in the first place, and then they could prepare appropriately, or at least Superman. He didn't really give everyone else, a good warning, which you talked about earlier.
Yeah, no, he totally didn't. Totally agree. But, no, I agree with all three of you. Speaking of Superman, though, in this book, he gives this address to the public. And I don't know what y'all's feelings or thoughts are on it, but I personally loved it. I thought it was one of the most heroic things that I've seen Superman do in a comic. because it just took guts. I mean, he gets in front of this public that he is, he has been trusted with protecting, and he has to admit to them that, what, I failed, we failed, our people are dead. This is how vulnerable we can be. This is how vulnerable I am. I mean, I have weaknesses that aren't just, kryptonite and magic. Hashtag Shazam. But
check out our earlier videos.
Shameless plug. But yeah, what do you guys think? What do you think, Joe?
I gotta be real. I'm not a huge fan of Superman. I think he's cool. I think he's good. He has good storylines. He adds to stories. He's just not my favorite in any way, shape, or form. But this is one of the most favorite things that I have of him doing. Okay, he is showing his real humanity, even though he's not human. He's saying, look, superhumans, superheroes, whatever, we're a title. That's all it is. And that's all it's going to be. We have problems too. And that's okay. And no one should shame anybody for it. Yeah. And I hella respected that.
Yeah. What do you think, Ethan?
I know I talked a lot about this with the last video about Heroes in Crisis, but it's this perfect meshing of Super and Man. He's Superman for a reason, you know what I mean? Like, he shows that, like, yes, like, I have all these powers. Obviously, I'm this huge icon in the DC world, but at the end of the day, he's a man.
Yeah.
And he has issues, and everyone that does this job has issues. And I think that the fact that he can stand up there and talk about that, I think makes him even more super.
Yeah.
But also more man.
Heck yeah, I like it. What you got, Robbie?
The only thing I really have to add is, I think the speech was delivered fantastically. It was incredible. Like, he delivered it very well, but he definitely was put in a position where he had to do it, in essence. Like, there's no way that would have come out if this whole thing didn't crumble in the first place.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would have ever come to light that way. I think he handled it incredibly well, and it was definitely a heroic and bold thing to do, but it was something that he had to do. So it's not something that he brought upon himself to be like, yeah, we should share this, but I don't know, just a slight little spin from, what we've been talking about, I think. You go first.
Okay, I just wanted to add on, I really liked that we got to see him in the process of writing it. Yeah. Because I really think that added to the whole humanity of his character. Is that you saw him at the computer and, like, trying to write this speech that he thought everyone would like. Mm-hmm. And Lois Lane is like, come to bed, like, lay with me for a little bit. And he sits there and he's like, it's not done. And I've definitely been there before. Like, I know I have to get up and I have to, like, say something to people, and I never feel like it's there yet.
Yeah.
I am blanking on what I was going to say.
It's the booze. Just take a drink, bro. Just take a drink.
We can just
drink while you're
saying. That's okay, because we are now 2/3 of the way through Heroes in Crisis. Do you feel like you know what's going on? Like, do you feel like you have an idea of who's behind this or what's behind this? I personally feel like I'm a little left blank. Honestly, at this point in the series, I'm wanting more out of the mystery itself. I like all the emotions. I like the confessionals. The book is beautifully made. But I'm like, who the heck are the puddlers? Who the heck is... Who killed everybody? I mean... We have on one end Harley saying Booster did it, Booster saying Harley did it. We've both seen it. We've seen at this point that both of them have seen each other killing Wally, and obviously some kind of mind junk is going on. What do y'all think?
That's like, it's really.
I mean, I feel like we're about where you are, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Expression.
There's some interesting panels in there, and it's hard because you don't know. Like, who, like, Booster's saying he can't even trust, like, what his memories are. I don't think you can trust necessarily what Harley's memories are either, but you have some kind of insights into certain panels, and I don't know. I think a lot of it is going to be focused on Wally in the future is what I think is going to happen. And I think maybe a hot take. I think Wally is actually going to be the one who gets manipulated by something and winds up killing a lot of people, which causes Booster to kill him, which Harley sees.
Whoa! I like that. That's weird.
But
that's cool.
that's kind of like maybe like my hot take for the session. It might be totally wrong, but that's kind of what my impression was.
Super interesting.
I think it's interesting.
Somewhat agree with you. I think that Wally plays a bigger role than we know right now.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, we know that something happened where he went into the future, and he's obviously hurting a lot over the loss of his family. And so I think it has to do with him sort of flashpointing it, basically. He went back in time to try to basically not disappear, to try to get back to his family because he feels so lonely. I think that has something to do with all the events that has transgressed since then.
Interesting theories, fellas. I'm digging this. Whatever thoughts you guys have, definitely leave them in the comments below. But last question, what was your favorite confessional from these books? I want to know. Ethan, tell us, what was your favorite?
My favorite in this one was Commander Steele. All right. He went in the confession booth and he talked about how he had died multiple times before. He's one of those characters in DC that, you know, they've killed him off a couple times and brought him back to life. And he talked about sort of what that did to him. And then he continued on to say, like, I'm alive right now, but I don't think it'll stick. And, like, obviously I couldn't have ever dealt with being dead and then coming back to life. But I feel like that emotion is something that, like, on a visceral level I can connect with.
Yeah.
Because he's just dealt with it so many times that he doesn't believe that he really is even living anymore.
Yeah.
He's just waiting until he dies again.
So a character that I'd never run into before until reading this was Narc. He's like the Cro-Magnon man. I was just so taken aback by the fact that he doesn't seem to speak very well, very fluently. He definitely speaks like a caveman. But then he just goes in and talking about like reading Keats and Hobbes and all these things. And he's having this crisis of what his life used to be, and it's like, yeah, it was just about survival and it was primal and I was in harmony with nature. And then he comes to the current day and it's nothing like that. But at the same time, society's advanced so far. He was able to read and learn and all these different new things. And coming to the he was one of the only ones that actually came to a realization that helped him at the end. That was, it's not like it was before. It's different, but it doesn't make it better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah.
And understanding that just because it's not the way it used to be doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Doesn't mean you can't move on and enjoy the things that are here now. And I thought it was cool that it was one of the only people that it seemed like at the sanctuary that he was one of the only ones that had a completed session when the alarm was sounded, essentially.
Yeah. No, I dig it. What do you think, Joe?
Black Canary. She was just so real about what was going on in the situation. She sat down, she's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then she looks out and she just goes, yeah, this, and just walks off. And she just dip sets for six panels, and you're like, she's coming back, right?
Nope.
She's not coming back. Okay, she left.
I dig it. I love it. Well, guys, we clearly love this book. We hope that you love it. We want you to go out there and pick it up. Heroes in Crisis. It's still going. Join us on the conversation. We want to hear your thoughts, so leave comments in the messages in the comments below. Also, if you enjoy watching us talk and drink our beers, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Also, keep up with us on a weekly basis. Hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you can know whenever we post new videos. And make sure you follow us on Twitter. We want to let you know what we're doing throughout the week and all the times. So we're at Bar Oblivion on Twitter. But until next time, we'll catch you at the Oblivion Bar.
A large fresh orange juice, please.